Hello, friends. I'm no therapist, but I'm your host, Stephanie Goodman. I'm a wife, a mother, a grandmother, and a woman of faith. Often friends ask me how I have a successful marriage while blending families and staying optimistic in life. This podcast features people with real-life stories about success in relationships and triumph over trial. If you were the author of your own romance story, how would it turn out? Imagine an established author meets a Walmart manager, fall in love, and not just blend, but lightly stir their 11 children. Well, that's the story of our guests Jenni James and Jason Sabey, recorded in a condo right next to the beach on beautiful South Padre Island. Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of I'm No Therapist, but I want to introduce to you, my dear friends, Jenni and Jason.
Hello.
Hi.
Jenni and Jason agreed to come all the way down here to South Padre Island. We had to twist their arm a little bit.
Not at all. No. We're coming back.
It is such a magical place. And so if you hear some sounds, it's because we are filming or recording right on the spot. Mm-hmm. We're so grateful to have you here all the way down in South Padre Island, Texas, right? Did you know there was an island in Texas?
Not till you guys.
Not till we met you guys.
Jason, will you tell me about yourself?
Yes. So I was married for about 12 years and I got divorced. I was separated from her for about 8 years. I have 3 children from my first marriage and about 7 children that are Jenni's, and then we've adopted one. And we'll let Jenni explain her kids a little later. Me and Jenni have been married for 7 years now.
In November.
In another month, it'll be 7 years. I am a guy. I have the right to. Hey, I made it through 7 years, so it's been a great 7 years. And so I have 3. We have our kids. Her second oldest and my oldest are 2 weeks apart, and then you go right down, and our kids are within 6 months of each other. 6 of the kids are really close to the same age, which is a lot of fun.
Our oldest is mine, and he turns 25 in a week. And then our youngest is 7.
And we adopted the youngest between us. So we'll talk about her a little bit maybe.
That is incredible to take one family and another family, blend you together, and then on top of that, adopt another one.
Mm-hmm. Insanity may be part of our problem.
Well, when you have that many kids, what's one more, really? You don't notice it.
And sarcasm is cheap.
It's free. We own a restaurant, and we tell everybody that comes into our restaurant, sarcasm's free here at Shep's, so come on in.
So to finish explaining, Jenni's an author. She has 49 published books, 1 book written that she's going to publish eventually. I'm harassing her about that one. So basically 50 published books. The one's ready to come out. And then she has, we have a restaurant between us. And Jenni's also a screenwriter. She's got 2 movies out.
Mm-hmm. And another one in pre-production. and actually quite a few more in the works.
We're pretty crazy busy with our schedule. And 11 children to go with it. Just, if 11 children's not enough, we opened a restaurant in the middle of the pandemic because we thought, hey, what else? What could be more entertaining than opening a restaurant in the middle of a pandemic? I mean, that shows our my mental acuity there.
Well, I would like to take this minute to share with the audience how we got to know each other. Mm-hmm. Kels and I, we were the owners of a film festival called the LDS Film Festival. And we opened up the doors for many films to come and participate. and we had gotten all the films that we needed. We felt like we had put together the program the way that we needed to, and then we were introduced to this new film called Not Cinderella's Type. Adorable. It was so adorable, and I needed to have this in our film festival. I knew that anybody who watched it would love it and cry and love it and cry. It really had such a different message about setting boundaries and loving yourself, not allowing the whole world to be in charge of your world, no matter what the circumstances are.
And even recognizing emotional abuse, because Indy goes through a lot of emotional abuse but doesn't believe in her own worth or realize that she's being abused. She just accepts the situation. It's all she's ever known. You know?
And being in a situation where we have experienced our own life experiences, that really brought home for me a message that I wish I had as a younger girl. And I still feel like any young lady or young teen needs to watch this movie. It was so profound and powerful.
I was very fortunate to have it made. I mean, I had a producer approach me and asked me if I would be willing. It was one of my books, and he asked me if I'd be willing to write the screenplay, and I said yes. And I wrote it and was able to we were able to have it filmed very, very quickly. And then, of course, it won the LDS Film Festival, which was amazing. But that wasn't because of you. I mean, it was because you brought it in, but you had all of your judges review it at the last minute. And I've heard from one of those judges who was like, dang it. He's like, I knew this other movie was going to win. And then I saw yours and was like, oh. We actually met because after Not Cinderella's Type 1, the trophy then goes to the producer, which is great fun and all, but it was my first screenplay and it was my book.
Jen asked me on the way home, she says, do you think that it's weird if I call him and ask if I could get a thing and
my own trophy?
And I said, yeah, it's probably a little weird, but hey, why not? I mean, let's do it. And so she got on.
So I had to look at the program, and I found Kels's name, and then I found him on Facebook and private messaged him and was like, hey, I know this might be kind of weird, but do you mind if I get my own trophy? I'll pay for it and everything. I just want my own. And he was like, oh, yeah, you can do that. Anyway, when we picked up the trophy at the Goodman's house, then I don't know that we ever left. I'm pretty sure we've just moved in now with all of our children.
Hey, what's it like having an extra 11 kids around the house?
Hey, if you're blending one family, you blend them all. It's okay. As long as they have a patch of grass to lay on, we're good, right?
Yeah.
I would just feed them salad.
Yeah, salad's good.
I bet that was incredible to see your books become a movie, to actually see the visuals
and watch the characters
of having
come alive.
them come alive.
Yeah, they did a good job with the characters. I was really excited. And then since then, I mean, we've had another movie, one that Kels directed, Quarantine for Two. And that one, I mean, I saw the characters, but then I saw them, but I didn't know who they were. And he was like, oh, I know who they are. Right. And we read it once and he knew exactly and called each of them. And they both wanted to come do it. And that one, oh my gosh. I don't think that another pair could have pulled it off like they did. There is just no way. No way. But that one was really fun too. And now I get to see maybe more. So I'm kind of excited there.
So what was the name of the movie that you and Kels did?
Quarantine for Two. So, and we did it during the pandemic last year when you could only have like a crew of 6 people. And it was crazy, and you weren't allowed to go anywhere or do anything. And he pulled it off. He's an incredible director. Kels really is, and he sure gets humor and romance. So it was a good thing because it's a romantical film, and it's set more, late 20s, early 30s, not the teen film from before. So
age-wise, late 20s, early 30s, not the teen film.
I love that you have your passion in your career, and that, Jason, you see her light and you do everything in your power to help her to embrace that as well. And I admire that about you two as a couple.
It's fun to be a partnership, not a dictatorship.
I love that. That's an excellent quote.
Well, I was married 17 years before, and, it was a constant battle. I mean, I directed theater. I was in theater at the time, and I directed theater. But every time I would start something new or decide to write my own play or do something like that, he would be like, "Are you sure? Do you want to?" But I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can just go up and talk to these people. And I'm like, "We need a children's theater. I'm going to do it." And he's like, they're not going to give it to you. They're not going to say yes. They're not going to let you do it. I mean, it was a constant, like, you don't already have your own doubts, but to have it from the one person that's supposed to build you up. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's amazing that I broke through as much as I did, to just, no, I'm going to do this and then do it, and now to have support like I do is absolutely incredible. Like, it's amazing, because I'm so used to working on my own for so long that this is like, wait, you want to come? You want to be there? Wait, you're going to help set up? Like, what? You want to be there for my research too?
Okay.
So I walked into the room one day. Jenny had been working on a book, and she'd been kind of locking herself in the room. And so I come home from work. I was, hot and tired, and husband, and she's been in there, and she's just bawling, just teared up, crying. And she looks up at me and she says, "We've got to go to Tonga."
Oh my goodness! This is after you were married?
We'd been married for 2 years, 3 years.
Nope, 2 years.
2 years. We'd been married 2 years. And I mean, we're blending a family, and it's expensive to blend a family. We just bought a house, and we were dirt broke. And she's like, "I've got to go to Tonga." And I'm like, "Cool, when we going? Let's go. Let's do this thing." We didn't have any idea how to do it.
Yeah, we weren't sure what was going to happen. I'd been receiving a lot of emails and a lot of letters from kids from Tonga. I mean, I get them from all over the world, but that was like, I started noticing how many kids were writing me from Tonga. And then I finally opened up one, and it was from a young man, Pohahau, and I read his email, and he said, "We don't have a lot of books in Tonga, but and I have to read one to graduate." He's like, "My friends told me that your books were really good, and I didn't want to read them at first." Okay, guys, I write romance, teen romance. This poor guy read one of my books from a recommendation from a friend because he had no other choices. But he read my book and he loved it, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, it was actually really good," But I knew the kids there needed me at that point, and not, if anything else, they needed boy books on their shelves. So, and that the spirit just hit me so strong that we had to go to Tonga, and we didn't know how we were going to get there. And then the next day, our tax return came in, and it was $10 off the 2 flight tickets we needed. The 2 tickets, it was only $10 off, and we went, "Oh, that's why the tax return took so long, because it was July."
I do have to say, though, I met the girl that Pohahau told him to read your books, and she was cute. So, I mean, I think there might have been a little bit more of a thing. But, yeah, it was $10 off, so we ended up going to Tonga.
And we brought 300 books. I put a call out to all my author friends, and we donated, we had 300 books that came in, and I brought them the rest of my collections. But what we found out is it cost $85 a book. By the time they buy it, and the exchange rate, and then the shipping, and then the tariffs, each book is $85, and so that's why we brought so many with us.
So rolling back to the point of this story, I really appreciate how Jenny supports me in my career, and I've always tried to support her in her career, and we've always tried to, I think that's one of the things that we focused on is, instead of telling each other we can't do it, we've been really supportive and trying to figure out any way we can make it work.
Let me ask you, how did you two meet?
So we met on...
Jenny stalked me on Facebook.
You are so lying.
Like,
so we were both in a single site. No, you don't get to say it now.
She stalked me.
No.
I'd post something and she'd go through and like all my posts.
So this is what Jason would do to me. I was a well-established author, but I would just go...
And what was the year of this?
So we met 2013. Yeah, we met 2013. My divorce happened in 2012, and we met online. I was living in New Mexico at the time. He was in Utah, and in 2013, we were both on a single site in Facebook, and they would like post all these things that were super studious and like super like ridiculous. So I posted something saying, "What are your 3 favorite comedy movies?" Just to get people excited about something.
Conversations, right?
And he put Galaxy Quest, Hitch, and Private Eyes, which are my 3 favorite movies.
Nothing else but those.
Well, I'd asked for 3. And so he put those 3. And I was like, oh my gosh. And so I said, those are my 3. I mean, I just commented right on it. He friend requested me. Then guess who stalked me? Oh. And then I would always know when Jason... I
don't remember this part.
I would always know when Jason would get back online because it would be sometimes 3 or 4 days. And I didn't know what his job was or what he did. But I just knew when he would get back online because all of a sudden all my pictures were liked. Everything that I was doing with kids. Or if I made a pie, he definitely
Jenny always did fun things with the kids. And that was one of the things that I noticed online because... So I actually don't know how I got added to the singles groups. I did not add myself.
Wow.
Like every now and again, I still get added to these single groups.
It's true.
I have no idea how I got into them. None. But Jenny always most of the people were whining about their ex or whining about this or whining about that or blah blah blah. And Jenny was always positive, and she talked about her kids and family. And I knew. If I ever dated anybody again, and that was a big if in my life, that I wanted somebody who was going to be positive and family-centered because I love kids. I love my kids. And if they didn't like their kids and they whined about their kids, there was no way in heck they were going to accept my kids and love my kids because if you can't like your own, you're not going to like somebody else's.
Oh, that's a really good
So for me, that was one of the things that attracted me to Jenny.
So when his divorce finally went through, May 30th, he called me. And he was like, where are you at, Jenny? What are you going to be doing? And I'm like, well, I'm dancing. I'm going to be in Salt Lake. There's a singles dance. I'm going. He's like, where? And I told him, and he's like, I'm going to be there. And I'm like, really? You're going to show up finally? He's like, yep, I'm coming. And I was like, okay, all right. And then he didn't show up till 11:30.
So then I went and took a nap, so I was refreshed and ready to dance the night away.
Remember where he can sleep
anywhere?
Did you wash your hair? Anytime?
I did wash my hair.
Yes,
yeah.
That's good.
Where he can sleep anywhere.
I had to wash my hair, put on my makeup. Yeah.
But yeah, we met at a singles dance. Our first date was he invited me out a couple weeks later. He was like, when are you? Because we lived an hour apart. So he was in Pleasant Grove and I was up in Woods Cross, and he was like, when can we go on a date? When are you back down here? And I'm like, well, I have an author event, but I have a friend coming in town from Georgia, but we could date. Do you mind if I bring her? Like, I don't want to just leave her visiting.
I thought, woohoo, 2 for 1.
She was married and he knew it. Anyway, but he didn't show up, so it didn't matter. He stood us up. You want to know, it's one thing to be stood up on your own, but to be stood up while you have a friend, it's a little extra awkward.
Like I said, it's a miracle we got together. What can I say?
Oh, so tell us about that story then.
Oh, Jen tells this one way better than me, so you just go right ahead and tell this story.
So I texted him and I'm like, hey, the movie starts in 10 minutes. Are you coming? Because I knew he lived only... like 1 minute from the movie theater.
Yeah, I was like 2 minutes from the movie theater.
Like he could walk there quicker than I could text him. Anyway, I was like, hey, are you coming? And then I get this text back. Oh, my dad's getting my cousins from jail. And I was like, what? And I went, ha, so does that mean you're not coming on the date? And I'm thinking to myself, this is way too much drama. Like, peace out. Like, I'm good.
So there's a long story behind it, but
his homeless brother.
My homeless brother had kidnapped his kids from my parents, who was the legal guardian. They'd been gone for a week.
They'd been living on the streets.
And then they just found the kids, And so I went up to pick up, and I totally spaced off the date.
Because of that, he handed his phone to his oldest son and just said,
who was like,
if you had an emergency, he's like 14.
He was like 12, wasn't he?
No.
Was he 14?
Yeah. And he handed him the phone and just said, if you have an emergency, call me. That was his son who texted me back.
Yeah, on my dad's
phone. Getting my cousins from jail.
So, and I was riding up with my dad to pick up the kids. And just make sure it was okay, and
And the cops just had him at that
I had totally forgotten about. They weren't in jail; they were obviously just at the police station and just pick up the kids. My older brother, who's homeless and had kidnapped the kids, was not as happy at that point in time.
Yes,
he might have been in jail, but.
So then I get a text.
That's a great way to start off dating, right? Though, just so you know.
That's super drama. You want to stay away from drama, like
guys.
That's bizarre.
If I could blow it and somehow make it from this, there's hope for y'all. If she's worth it and she's good, just do it. Go for it. So
then I get another text on Wednesday. So now, mind you, this is Friday. I get another text Wednesday. He's like, "Oh, Jenny, I'm so sorry. I forgot our date." And he just was just going through the text and saw that and went, "Oh, no, I forgot about her." So then he's like, "I have a lemon tree for you. I'm going to give you," because my favorite fruit is lemons. Most of my children is lemons. My kids were like, "Ma, go get that lemon tree." I'm like, I'm not dating him. That was it. That was his one shot.
I think I would agree with you.
Yeah, and they were like, "Mom, bring home the lemon tree. Just one date and bring home that tree." And I was like, fine. So I told him, look, I have another author event, but it's nice. This is a nice event. We're doing dinner.
I don't remember the nice part.
Oh my word, just stop it. There's like 40 authors that are coming, and that's, it's a big dinner that they've like reserved part of a restaurant. And I was like, I just need you to come. Just look nice. You can be my date, my 1+. Like, oh. Anyway, so he's late to that. He's late. It's 15 minutes late. Everybody's already sitting down.
This is chalked up on the list of how many screwed up dates?
Right. Well, this is number 2 now. And he shows up finally, and he's in these ripped jeans, dirty shirt, his hair's everywhere. I'm like, Jason, what are you wearing?
They were totally ripped. There was just a hole in the knee, and just
by the end of the night,
probably the holes in both knees, actually.
And he comes to me, and he's like, "I'm so sorry." He's like, I was playing with the kids, and we were at the park, and then Anne took forever to pick him up, and now I didn't know about the ex yet. I didn't know any of this. I didn't know that this was one of the very few times he got to see his boys.
It was the first time in about 4.5 months I'd saw my kids.
Yeah, and she came late to pick him up, so he didn't have time to change. He just drove straight to the restaurant. And I'm like,
hey, but I showed up this time. That should give me points.
And I was like, oh, fine, whatever. Just go sit down. And so I wanted to go through the salad bar and like decompress because I was pretty ticked. Like I was like just...
She was embarrassed.
I was a lot of things.
She was embarrassed of me.
I was frustrated.
He's still trying to figure out who is this guy and am I really going to give him more attention?
So finish the story.
So I go and this isn't on top of it all. I totally thought this guy was special needs. Just so you know, that's a whole nother thing because he couldn't text to save his life. He couldn't spell anything, and then his hands were so big, like his thumbs were so big.
And this is for a writer, right?
Yeah, this is where I cannot. Yes, you need to be able to spell. But then he would just kind of throw it out there, and I'm like, first I have to dissect, and then I'd have to try and spell it and be like, what is he trying to say? The only thing I could actually read was my dad is getting my cousins from jail. And I'm like, oh my gosh. This is the first text I could actually read of his. So, and also it said on his Facebook post, he works at Walmart. So I was like, oh, bless his heart. He's probably just the greeter. Like what? 38, 39-year-old man works at Walmart and can't text.
Let's see.
Can't spell.
3 favorite movies. Really nice.
Yeah, that was it.
Gets along, stalks you, doesn't show up for dates, is picking up his cousins from jail.
Yes.
I was a real catch. Let's just say I was a catch.
He comes all dirty.
And a Walmart greeter.
Yes, and a Walmart. So here I am walking through the salad bar going, why did I invite this guy? Like, why? But again, I have to tell you this other part. I felt very, very, very strongly very strongly that I was to say yes to every man who asked me on a date just once. I was to give him one chance. And I didn't have to marry him. I didn't have to anything because I was not going to date.
This was still my second chance.
No, this is still your first date, though. Anyway, so it was like I was supposed to give every guy a chance. Just go on a date and do it. And that is honestly the reason why I followed through, because I kind of felt like I'm just going to give him a chance. Like, I'm not giving him a chance, but whatever, we're here. I did the thing that I felt like I needed to do. And it was a wonderful experience for me. That's maybe something else for a female one, because it allowed me to see how great men are, and that, yeah, they've had hard marriages too. You know, and I needed to see that there are good men out there.
Yeah.
They might not be compatible with me, which is fine, but they were so incredible. And I'm glad that I did that exercise. You know, I said I went on a lot of dates. So every guy asked me, I was like, fine, we're not getting married. I'm just going on a date. And I was very open. I'm healing. I'm not doing this for anything. Mm-hmm. I'm just doing this for fun because I need to find me. And they were like really great and awesome.
I like that line too.
Yeah. And I was just very open. So here comes Jason, and
I'm
walking around the salad bar, putting my salad together, just going, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? And I come back, and they had reserved the 2 center seats for us in a really long table. And there was about 4 or 5 other tables full of people. But we happened to just sit right in the center. And I come back, and the table is laughing. And it's probably 8-10 people. And they are laughing so hard. And Jason is owning that table. He's owning it. Wait, no waits. And he's like, no. Okay, so you've read that book, but have you read the sequel? And I'm telling you. And he was like, no. And then they were laughing, and he was sharing all these different stories of these different books that he's read. And I'm like, he reads? And then he's like, when I was getting my degree in business management, I blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, wait, he has a degree? Wait.
Not a woman.
What? And then he's like, and then we find out he's a manager of Walmart, you know, and that when you're managing $1 million store and you have 600 employees, that's a little different than the greeter. You know what I mean? And I was like, what? And they are laughing, and they love him, and he knows books that are about financing. He knows books that are political. He knows Harry Potter. He was quoting everything, and they just loved him. And I kind of looked at him, and I was like, he actually is kind of cute. Like, what? Anyway, and everybody was like, your date's so awesome. And I'm like, way to represent. And then we found out a good friend of mine, another author, was across the table from us. We found out it was their anniversary. And they were broke, and had just come up for this dinner. And they were staying in a hotel, but had no plans. They had a son that was getting married. And it was they just didn't have any money. Yeah. And we're like, well, we were going to do bowling afterwards. And I kind of looked at Jason, and he invited him. He's like, yeah, you guys want to join us? We'll pay. It's your anniversary. Just come with us. So they came bowling with us. Oh, he ripped his pants all the way up the butt. But we played Uno bowling, and he wanted to do, so whatever the card is, then you have to do whatever, you know, that card represents. So his was like granny bowling or something. It was so funny.
So depending on the color of the Uno card.
Or skip card or draw 4 or whatever, you have to do something crazy. And he had to put the ball under his legs and then throw it, and he ripped with 2 hands. He ripped his pants. But we laughed, and we laughed, and we laughed. And then,
poor Jason.
And I had the minivan, so I had everybody drive with us to the bowling alley. And so we drove back, and he was like, oh, don't forget your lemon tree. And I was like, oh, yeah. So we're pulling in, and we've dropped them off at the airport, and we're pulling in, and we're still laughing, and we're having just a we actually have a lot in common, and I realize he's not special needs. Anyway, but we pull up.
I fooled her good.
We pull up to his car, and he has the lemon tree all buckled in. It's so cute. But then I noticed his car. And it's like this 94 Buick. Like, it's brown. It could not have been uglier.
Hey, it was a luxury car. It was a 94 Buick LeSabre. It had power, everything. I love that car.
And I knew he'd gotten a new car because he'd been texting me about it, was really proud of it. And I'm like, this is the car you got?
A new car?
And he goes, well, it was either that or a Charger.
Yeah,
it was either a Charger, but I didn't want the payment. So I got this one, and it has like 70,000 miles and only one owner. And
I spent $1,200 on it. It was awesome.
He loved it, and I realized my ex was always so flashy that there was at one point when we lived in England, there was 5 sports cars in my driveway. 5 sports cars that we couldn't afford. And he and I were the only drivers. And literally, to find a guy that is willing to not even have a payment, I was just like holding my lemon tree thinking, marry me. It was like one date changed it all. And then the second date, he came in an hour late, but he was
so guys, what we learned from this is you can screw up really bad, but if you bring a lemon tree, all is forgiven.
Is this true? The 2 lemons we got off of it before I killed it, and Jason had to watch it for me. He
like
came
every
over.
time I went up, I tried to fix it and help it, make sure it got water. But when you get watered every weekend or so, it doesn't work.
But I did love the 2 lemons that came off of it before it died.
So I want to hear about, because I know for myself, putting myself out there again, I was a mom of 3 kids. I already had 3 kids, and to marry someone else who had family, like I felt like my 3 kids would become a burden to whomever it was that I brought into a relationship. You bring 3 kids to 9 already, you bring 3 kids to 7 already. Like that makes it expensive, that makes it stressful, and you're raising someone else's kids. Was that ever a concept or an issue for you when you're thinking about your children, Jason, and your children, Jenni?
So, me first. I'll go first. So, for me, I came from my mom died when I was 9, and so I came from a blended family. I had 6 brothers and sisters. I have 5 stepbrothers and sisters, and I have one other. So it was a his, mine, and ours family. And yeah, there was a lot of struggles that went through with blending my step family and my family, and there's things that went well, there's things that crashed and burned. Mm-hmm. And so when me and Jen were talking about getting married, having 7 kids, 7 step kids really scared me to death. The oldest was 15.
No,
16?
Dallin was 17.
17. Mm-hmm. Bailey was 15. Yeah. And so, and having kids that age and trying to be a dad to kids that age is, and a stepfather to those kids is really challenging. And I knew it was going to be.
Plus, they were redheads.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I have redheaded stepchildren.
I have 5. I do have 5 redheaded stepchildren, and Jenni has 1 redheaded stepchild. So it's kind of 6 redheads out of 11. But so there was. It did scare me a lot to the thought of being a stepdad, especially to the older kids, because man, teens can be rough at that age. I know.
But my kids loved Jason. So as much as it might have terrified him, I dated quite a few different people. And when Jason finally came on board, they were like, he's the one, Mom. You did it. You found him. But he thought about them all the time. He come running. I got tickets off at the zoo. Let's go to the zoo. Let's go to the aquarium. Let's go to the lake. Let's go fishing. Let's take the kids to the park. Let's go on a hike. Every day he was just coming up with fun things. He was always thinking of the kids. It wasn't just me and him. He realized the importance. These kids need to get out. We need to do fun things with them too. And they just always felt included. And they saw the way that he treated me and just appreciated him from day one. I was our second date. He was an hour late to a barbecue we had. And I was like, what is going on? Why were you late? What was going on?
Oh, and this is your second date?
I know, yes. Well, the first one, never mind.
I crashed and burned.
Yeah. The first one was so bad. He stood me up the first time, and then when we actually went on our real first date, don't even. Okay.
Let's just say.
Okay. So by the second
if
date,
you could crash and burn as bad as I did and still make it, there's miracles never cease.
Yeah. I can't even. So then when he's out, we're late, and we've got all these kids, and they're starving, and and they had a big water balloon fight ready and planned for this guy they're gonna meet. And he shows up an hour late, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. There was a lady with a flat tire, and I had to turn around on the freeway. I turned around and went back and helped her and got her going on her way, and then sent her, and then came." And I'm like, "Oh, dang it! I can't even be mad." Like, oh, dang. But that's Jason. That's always, he will stop and help anyone in need, and he's taught the children that, and they love and respect him for that. We are always helping our neighbors. We're always helping anyone. And he's like, "Come on, boys, we got to go help them. Come on." And it's just the beauty of him. Just makes him amazing. It really is
nice having a couple other slaves to take along when you have to help a neighbor move in or move out. Having 3 teenage boys that are now they're grown men, but that are strong and have good backs. It is that was great for me.
Another thing that really makes our marriage work is we had a lot of the same ideals. When I finally met Jason, it was somebody who I'm the worst. I mean, have the blackest thumb. I cannot keep a garden to save my life. Like anything. I walk by plants and they just shrivel up.
It's true. I saw it.
Like people give me a plant as a home, a gift, and I just cry because I'm going to kill it. Like I can't. I prefer
I feel you on that.
But Jason is amazing with landscaping and gardening and all of that. And he's always wanted a garden. He wanted a home with an orchard. We both love to can and preserve food. I can cook anything. If somebody else grows it, I will make whatever you want. I am an amazing chef. But so Jason, we kind of complemented each other that way. And I always wanted a farm. I was born and raised in Phoenix and then New Mexico. So I never really I was in cities. I never really had that farm life. And he was a farm boy. And not only was he a farm boy, he wanted that for his kids. And to raise the chickens and to be able to live off the land and to, cut our own firewood and stuff like this. I mean, the whole charm that he brought, we had those same goals and we were worried about the future. And if we could teach our kids these skills, then they can go on forever. And I mean, it's down to that, changing that tire, changing the oil, changing the brakes, things that he has taught all of our boys that they know how to do. They know how to live off the land. They know how to grow. They take care of our farm. And we do. We ended up buying a small farm, but that's one of those things. And then we both can talk marketing and sales and books and dreams and plans and future and movies. We can talk this stuff for hours and hours and hours too. So he is one of my favorite people to talk to. Clearly he just listens while I talk, but no, I'm just kidding.
So one of my favorite stories is, when we're dating and I'm sitting on the couch and we'll be talking and Jenny, so she has 5 redheads, okay? And I'm really trying. There's 7 kids, but 5 of them are redheads. So the oldest and youngest, I have their names down. But the middle 5, it was a blur of red hair. It was hard. So
3 girls and 2 boys.
There's 3 girls and 2 boys, and I kind of had them down. I thought, but when Jen gets mad, she doesn't call them by their first name. She calls them by their middle name. So she'd start calling the kids by the middle name, and I'm like, wait, which one is this? I get confused on just which kid was which.
And now they have a new name.
Yeah.
And now they have a new name. And it's
it was Bailey. Her name's Mikkel. Yeah.
It was insane. And so that was a challenge for me, is all of a sudden. But I think my oldest son had a hard time accepting Jen. And we've had a lot of struggles with that.
But that's not, really though, on the whole, we were able to blend very, very well. We got very lucky. And my kids just wanted a dad who was present. My ex-husband was addicted to gaming our whole marriage. And so when you have a dad, and by gaming I mean would just play computer games. And when you have a dad who literally lived on the computer from the second he's home from work until 2 or 3 when he would go to bed, you don't have a dad that's present. And and we lived in some very magical places. We lived in the Azore Islands of Portugal, and we lived in England for almost 10 years. And when you're out there, I wouldn't let my kids just only play video games. We went and explored. And every weekend I took my kids to see all the sights and the castles and the ruins and the, the museums, and to London and to, everywhere, to the beach, anywhere I could. We would just open up a map, and every Saturday I'm like, where's our adventure today? And I would take my children, however many that was. I ended up having 3 children overseas. And I wanted them to have that life. So then to have Jason come in and want to take them places. This was new. This was amazing. And not only want to take them places, loved taking them on new adventures they'd never been on. I mean, one of our favorite things that they love to do every year now is to catch crawdads. And he took them up to Strawberry, and we actually planned a camping trip while we were still dating, where the kids could blend together and see how they did. And he kept the boys in his tent, and I had the girls in my tent. And then he took them, and they got to explore crawdadding in this way.
And wait. I'm going to back up here a little bit. So we went up there. We're camping, and Jenny plans on just sleeping on the ground, on the hard ground.
In my sleeping bag.
She really didn't plan this. Me, on the other hand, I brought the blow-up air mattress. And I offered it to her. I said, do you want my blow-up air mattress? I'll just sleep in my car. Because I could have just laid the seat back. I would have been fine sleeping in the car. She's like, no,
I didn't know he could sleep anywhere at any time. I was thinking, oh no, this would be horrible. I'll be fine.
I'm like, I'm okay. I'll just sleep in my car. And she's like, no. So I go in, I slept all night on my air mattress. I wake up in the morning and Jen walks out of her chair, and I think she was kind of dragging a leg behind her, and like her arm wouldn't go straight, and she was like walking kind of like the Hunchback in Notre Dame.
The Walking Dead, right?
And she kind of crick and straightened up, and finally, like, it just totally. And so when we were dating, and this is when I think Jen decided she liked me, is I'm like, okay, you're going back to bed. And I kind of just pushed her in my tent on top of my thing, and she was kind of trying to protest, but I just pushed her in there, and once she got on it, she laid down. I don't know if she was actually awake when she was talking to me. She was kind of mumbling, what about the kids? I said, I got the kids. So I took we had nine. We had nine.
Yeah,
nine of the kids with us down to the lake. And I took them out, and we all went crawdadding. Me. Well, I had the older kids. So the oldest one was 17. So the oldest one was 17. So it was no big deal. And we took him down, and we caught crawdads all day.
At the time, so he had the oldest with the 4-year-old, and the 15-year-old was with the 6-year-old, and they just went like this.
And then the middle ones,
like this.
Chloe and Jake were hanging together. Yeah.
Yeah. And he taught them how to catch the crawdads and how to find them, how to use the tongs to pick them up and put them in the bucket. And I, meanwhile, slept. It was glorious. And it was actually the first time in my whole entire life as a mother. So it had been 19 years I'd been a mom. 17 years I've been a mom. 19 years I've been married or whatever. Well, I hadn't been married. Never mind. 17 years as a mom, where I wasn't doing it on my own. I got a break. And then after an hour, I hear the car like pull up, and then the tent, unzips. And I'm like, oh, are you guys back? No, just checking on you. Do you need anything? Do you need water? Do you need food? What do you need? And I was like, and he started to just rub my shoulders, and I was like, I'm good. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna go back to the kids. Just wanted to see if you needed anything. I'm like, no, I'm fine. Mm-hmm. And that tent zipped, and he drove away. And I bawled. I started crying because for the first time I knew what it was like to be loved and to be seen and to be thought of. It was like, that was probably the day that I fell in love with Jason. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, what man takes 9 kids to a lake? You know what I mean? And has a blast and enjoys himself and doesn't even...
Is not ready to turn him over.
Yeah, because I'm not... we know our kids. They're perfect angels.
Little did she know that me and 7 kids at the lake, it was really just or 9 kids at the lake. It was really just 10 kids at the lake. Let's be fully honest. She didn't know that at this part. I was just a big kid playing with the kids at the lake. It was more fun for me than them, I'm sure.
So you're finding a lot in common. You're finding that he has these skills and these qualities that you're looking for in a roundabout way. Mm-hmm. And you feel like this is something that could work. You're seeing the way that he's taking care of you. You're seeing the way that he's interacting with the children. Like blending the family sounds like it will work. Mm-hmm. What were some of the complications of that?
So, yeah, my oldest daughter, which was the same age as his oldest daughter, she came to me, and what were we married? About 6 months or so. And she came to me and she was like, I just don't know what to call Jason. Do I call him Dad? Like, what do I call him? And I said, hon, that's up to you. You have a dad who lives in Virginia. But I find it a term of endearment. All my in-laws, I call Dad and Mom. Mm-hmm. And I find it, and I've had other friends in my life that I called them their parents, Dad and Mom, and other people have done the same for me. And so I find it as a term of endearment, but that is totally up to you. And I said, you can choose what you call Jason, and you can just call him Jason, and he's fine with that. But let me just ask you something. And I really wanted to know the answer. I had no idea. And I was like, so if you have like car problems or something and you're not sure what to do, are you going to call your dad in Virginia or are you going to call Jason? And she said, oh, Jason, totally. I definitely call Jason. And I said, oh, okay. And I said, so what if there's like boy problems? Like you're not sure who to date or what to do. Who would you call? Would you call your dad in Virginia or Jason? And she's like, definitely Jason. Oh, every time I would call Jason. I would never call my dad. And I was like, okay. And then I said, so what about if you're having problems with work or schooling or something like that? And she's like, Jason. I said, then I think he's your dad. And I think it's okay. And she was just like, wow. But that also showed me how much my children had grown to love him in such a short time. It had been probably a year at that point. And how much they needed him too.
So I think from that story though, when we got married, one of the things that from my previous experience with my stepmom and my dad is she was just always pushing we should call her mom. And I watched everybody just push back on that. So I just didn't care what the kids called me. I'm like, whatever. And I tried to be a parent, but not pushy. Like, you call me what you want, whatever. And I think that helped our kids a lot. Just let them learn to love me for who I am, and then let them make the decision instead of me trying to force a decision on them. I think that's kind of been our parenting style all along, is teach the kids correct principles and then let them govern themselves. Let them decide what they're going to do as they go along. Give them a lot of freedom and a lot of choice. A lot of love, because I'd rather the kids to make mistakes at 12, 13, 14 and have that freedom and be able to correct it than 17, 18, 19, because the difference in mistake or what they do is so different. At 14, it's way less of a mistake than at 17. It seems like it amplifies it. And so we've given our kids a lot of freedom and a lot of choice. Mm-hmm. I mean, we still, don't get me wrong, there's still rules, but we have good kids. We have good kids, and I think that's one of the reasons we've let them make their choices and feel like it's a choice. And I think that's one of the things that helped us blend the family, is allowing the kids to do that.
I learned a long time ago too that with kids they need a reason. So you don't just say you can't do that. You have to then show them, if you do that, these are the possible consequences, and not just for you, but for people around you. How will that happen? What will happen to your friend if you two go out? How will they be treated? What will other people think when they see you react this way? Yeah. And it ends up being more aware of everything around you. It's a chain reaction. And I always when they would be like, why can't I do that? Why can't I do that? Sometimes it would be because I love you. But then I knew when they needed a real answer, then it was like, okay, these are the reasons. And sometimes I would give them a choice. Like, you can stay home or I don't know, do jobs or whatever, or you can do this. And they were like, we'll do this. We won't stay home and do jobs, I mean, we give them a choice. I think kids need a choice in there, but it is a more guided choice. There's never any time we saw them starting.
It's a choice that you can accept either way.
But I think we both parented the same way, and that helped us a lot. And where we didn't, we'd take it aside, we'd talk about it, and then I'd realize, oh, Jenni's always right.
What? Well, there are definitely times when Jason's like, when I'd be ready to kill the children or something, and he'd drag me in another room and just put his arms around me and hold me tight and be like, hey, breathe. I'm like, what are you doing? Let me at him. No, they didn't clean their arms. I was like, calm down, Jenni. I'm just trying to save the children. Just breathe. And I'm like, there was times, and I wouldn't even know I would be getting upset until he would bring me away from the situation. And then I'd be like, oh. So there was a lot of things that he was recognizing in me that I didn't realize was even happening.
Thank you for spending your time with us and for sharing those vulnerable stories of dating and blending the family, and also allowing the children to accept different parental situations, different parental titles. I think that that's really important, and that you didn't push them to do either one. I know that when Kels and I were dating, and we actually came across an article that talked about that, where wherever the children are, that they should be given the opportunity and allowed to call the other parent of mother or father, that they can choose though. And when we focus on our relationship, we are mom and dad of this household.
Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
What kind of advice would you give somebody who's looking at possibly blending their family together?
Run.
I would say definitely pray. Definitely put the Lord first there, because he knows those children, especially for me, and just accepting my 3 stepchildren, in different ways. And each one's a different prayer. And then trying your best to see them for the greatness that they are, for their achievements, how they're achieving, how they're becoming. So for me, I don't get to see my stepkids as much as Jason, lives with my children. And I don't necessarily, I pushed my kids definitely to interact more, to enjoy, have them come join in the games or invite them in, go outside, go explore. And we sent them on adventures together. Sometimes it was giving Jake and Chloe $10 and telling them to go to the local store that we now own. But at the time, or going to a carnival, or going on the, go have some fun. Go have some fun together.
Giving them opportunities to really connect.
A good thing that Jason did is he took my oldest girls out on shopping dates before Christmas and different dates.
Oh, can I tell a story if that was? No.
I don't know.
So, yeah. So things we tried to do, I think the biggest part of blending a family is remember to treat all the kids the same, that you love them all. And you can't be her kids, my kids. They're our kids. They're all our kids now. And so I would take the girls out on daddy-daughter dates, and we'd go do stuff. We had some crazy experiences doing it that really made us, it was fun.
And I've taken his boys out on dates, and my boys too, and he's taken all the girls, and what I mean?
And we'll go see a movie, and we'll just have a daddy-daughter date and go see a movie. Or I took them shopping for mom at the mall, or I hate the mall. Or whatever. I mean,
teen girls
at the mall.
But
you know
imagine. What? They need sometimes when we're watching one being really upset and just not happy. He's like, I need to take her on a date. I'm like, yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because at this point, she needs a dad. Because right now, mom is going to punch her in the face, and that's not good. So she needs a dad right now.
Sometimes it can be awkward being a stepdad and taking your 16-year-old daughter out, but it's so much fun to do if you just realize that's what they need.
Another huge thing that we always made sure to do is we do not talk about our exes.
No.
In front of the children. And instead, if we do, it is to tell the boys how beautiful their mom is and how fun she is and what a good mom she is and how much she loves them. It is as much positivity as we can give those boys. They do not know the struggle. And they didn't know until they were older and actually started asking questions. But for these last 6 years, they did not know what Jason has gone through.
And the same thing with Jenni and her ex. We've really we've pushed the kids to go see him and do it, and really encouraged them to have relationships with the other
call
parent.
him and visit him as much as we can, as much as he wants to see them.
Because as the kids get older, they're smart. They figure it out really quick.
Yeah.
But if you've held them away, then they feel resentment towards you. It's been a lot of work. So the best advice I could give is love the kids, trust the kids, treat them like they're your own, and remember that they love the other parent, the father and mother that they've left behind, and never speak bad about them, but always remember that that is part of who the child is. So if you speak bad about them, that's like speaking bad to the kids. And kids, when they hit teenagers and older, I mean, our oldest is 25 now, he's figured everything out. He pretty much knows. We didn't have to tell him anything. He's smart, and kids are smart, and your kids are smart. And just be happy and love them.
The best thing about having these older children now that are getting married and settled and going through college and everything is these younger kids. Sometimes they can't ask. They'll ask me, but then they'll ask their brothers and sisters about their dad and what happened and why there was a divorce. And the brothers and sisters are much more open but more loving, and they understand that there's certain things these younger ones can accept and know that they don't have to know the whole truth yet. You know what I mean? But they give that full range, and they will. The real story does come out, but it doesn't need to be. That is not your battle. Your whole goal is to love.
Oh my goodness, this has been such a rich conversation. Thank you for sharing your story with us, the advice that you shared with us, and the experiences that you have. I hope that others that are going through some similar situations can really take some golden nuggets and be able to find some solutions in their own life. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome.
If you've enjoyed this episode, remember to subscribe, share, like us on Facebook, and follow us on Instagram. Please comment, because I would love to hear about what you think and what you want to see in the future. I'm no therapist, but I am your host, Stephanie Goodman.